I just started on my iPad rather than my phone just because I didn't have everything set up. I think everybody's still on Brian's channel right now. That's okay. Give it a few minutes. I was rushing around this morning. Had a long day yesterday. Let's see. Yeah, I guess everybody's still over there. Just waiting for a little bit. Yeah, I had a little work to do with our reverse osmosis machine. uh, I guess it's a what do you say? A fancy way of just saying like a water filtration machine. And it was up till very late fixing it. Wound up throwing my back out. So this morning I just didn't want to get up, and I just let myself rest for a little bit. So hence kind of rushing around right before we start here. Let's see, nobody's here yet, so I'm going to sneak a little bit of food in. I was cooking before we started, but I didn't get a chance to eat. Of course, as soon as I start eating, somebody jumps in. Grab a napkin. Okay. Hope somebody popped in and popped out. Oh well. Hey Zach, how are you? Yep, you were the one, huh? Yeah, no, I was just saying, I unfortunately had a very long day yesterday, so I just kind of stayed in a little bit this morning and woke up a little bit later than I wanted to get ready. So we were just getting the little guy ready. He's still eating his breakfast. I didn't even set up the stream on my phone. I'm using my iPad this morning. Hence the weird angle. But yeah, make it work. Hey, Maine. How are you, David? Let me just see something. I was trying to see if I don't think you can. If on an iPad you could do screen share, but I don't believe. No, you can't. Well, yeah. So to this week, didn't have really a whole lot of pickups at all. I didn't go to my LCS. I haven't been since before Christmas at this point. I've been really just kind of embroiled in our reorganization project. I'm hanging in there, man. My back is still a little bit out. That's why I'm hunging a bit. But I've been embroiled in our reorganization project. So it's been get up, work, eat dinner, take care of the little guy. Maybe we'll rest for like 5 minutes or so. And then my wife and I have been organizing the comics up until about 12 or so. And then it's like a hard stop. And I've been documenting a little bit every day of us doing that. I am going to put that out just as a video series. We really don't know what to call that yet. So if anybody has any suggestions, again, just my wife and I organizing our comics, let me know. We've thrown around a couple names, and I'm sure we'll figure it out soon. We've only missed 2 days in the whole kind of reorganization thing. One of them we were just both too exhausted. I think that was earlier this week. Actually, I filmed a video. Hey, Trev. I have not put it up yet. I finally filmed my kind of follow-up for my American Heritage Month artwork. Name for an organizing show. Yeah, Zach, like something. Yeah, we were trying to do like some sort of a husband and wife type of name. We can't agree on one quite yet, but I might just start it as the unnamed collection show. I like that one. Honey, what do you think of this one? Zach suggested this. She's in the other room. I'm not yelling to myself. It's okay. File this with the Tastics.
Maybe, yeah.
That's a maybe. Hi, Lady Fantastic. How are you? Sinbad, how are you, sir? Yeah, I had filmed a video. I didn't put it up yet. Long story short, Sunday, my mom called me. It was freezing here last weekend. Oh, I like that one too. The Better Halves.
Yeah, that's not a good one.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it was freezing here in Jersey last weekend. I think we were at like 20 degrees. I know some of you people in Canada are like, that's spring for us. But my mom called me Sunday night. Her heat was gone. Heat was not working, I should say. Hey, Seth. Um, so I asked her why she didn't call public service yet. She wound up calling them. My wife happened to be near my mom's house Monday. She waited for public service. They never came, even though they said they did. So my mom was in freezing temperatures. We invited her over to this house. She doesn't want to come to our house. So she was kind of sitting it out. So then Tuesday, I actually got off work early to go to her house and wait in the freezing house for public service for the heating company to come and fix. I got there about 4 o'clock. They didn't get their window they gave her was between 4 and 8. They didn't get there until about 10, and that was, to be honest with you, I think that was like if we didn't call and complain and say, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" I think they would have blown her off again. So, long story short, I was recording in the freezing house, and by the time I got home, I didn't get home until like 11:30 that night. Hey, Paul. Yeah, I was just passed out. So, yeah, we only missed, again, 2 nights of recording. That was one night. Last night was the other because I didn't get done fixing the sink until about 12:15. And like I said, my back is freaking blown. Our sink is slightly elevated. I think everybody's is. So I had to do like an old, like if you've wrestled before, I used to wrestle for a little bit in high school, but mostly middle school. I had to do bridges basically to keep my back from crunching. And yes, this all has to do with comics because this is why you didn't see that video pop up this week. But yeah, as far as pickups go, I didn't go to my LCS. I did get my copies of Isolation issue 2 in. I haven't read it yet, and I forgot to bring them up with me. But I did get I do think I have all the covers again, at least all the ones that have been released so far. I have to take a look. I like to put them in the clear backings and everything. I did have, don't blow your back out fixing sinks. Seth, I got to do it. You know, it was an easy, if you've dealt with an RO before, you know that they're great, but they can be frustrating as far as when something goes bad, and something went bad. That was basically it. So yeah, I have my Isolation 2. I've also made a purchase for our giveaway. What giveaway, you may ask? Well, I just last week announced that we've been over 200 subscribers now for a week, which I'm very happy of. It's a big accomplishment. It feels like a lot of people are starting to hit milestones. Hey, you know, you got to change things up every now and then. Yeah, I bought a slab as a giveaway. Also, hey, Bay. Also, while organizing, I've been just kind of pulling out either things I have duplicate copies of, or things, hey Beckerman, things that just kind of wound up in my collection that I don't know why it's there. Hold on. Buddy, what's going on?
He doesn't want to go.
The kid doesn't want to drink his water. I don't know. I don't know what's doing. We should just do a whole stream of me trying to feed my son. It's not as fun as it sounds. He is very finicky. Yeah, so I've been going through my collection, pulling out duplicates and things that just I kind of wound up with. A lot of them, spoiler alert, are things that were in mystery boxes, I guess. I was like, oh yeah, I remember this from Comic Tom. I didn't want this. So somebody might possibly be getting it. And I've been taking polls recently, trying to use the community tab more. I think everybody is now that it's pretty much open up to everybody. Just on the kind of giveaways that basically you guys would be interested in. So yeah, look out for that. What I'm gonna do, what I'm gonna do, I'm trying to think. Rather than doing the 200 subscriber giveaway, I found out that my channel anniversary, which is going to be 2-year anniversary, is February 21st. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, February 21st. Wait, hold on a second. I said my channel is the 21st or the 20th the other day. It's either the 20th or the 22nd. And the reason I'm kind of like vague on the date is that it's I think it's the 20th. I think it's the day before my son's birthday. So we're trying to nail down. It's going to be his first birthday. We're trying to figure out exactly what we're going to do. And once we have that in place for his birthday, then I'll say, okay, this is going to be the big 2-year anniversary show where you can win stuff. Let me see what else here. I've not switched. I have about 1,500 books I want to dump. Best thing I could say is what I've been doing. I've been taking note of people who said they're looking for some books. I'm not going to say who because I haven't reached out to them quite yet. And just whenever I'm going to do a mailing, just say, hey, do you still need this? Because here you go. Yeah, Beckerman. I used to have a storage unit for a couple months. Long story short, I had an online price, so it went from about about $60 a month to over $200 a month very quickly. So I yanked it out of the storage unit, and yeah, it's been what we've been dealing with since. Yeah, I mean, look, anytime that you sell books in bulk, you're going to lose out, monetarily wise. If your focus is just on getting rid of them, then there you go. Yeah, Trev, I'll be honest with you. I thought about trying mystery boxes. The thing with a lot of these giveaways that I'm pulling out is that, they're not necessarily these big marquee books. These are common books, pretty much. I'm going to call it like you're helping me clear out my collection type of giveaway. I haven't thought about it too much yet. I'm too tired to be honest with you now. Said he may drive to Nashville and take them. That wouldn't be a bad thing. At least you'd be giving them to somebody who appreciates it. Baby Groot 1 year, Groot channel 2 year. Yep, exactly. Let me tell you something. It is hard trying to plan out a 1 year birthday party, especially in these times. We were trying to keep it small because funds are it's expensive to do these things. And look, we're trying to price between 15 to 20 people, which is basically just like family and a couple friends. And some of the prices I'm getting in our area, Paul, tell me if you've seen anything different. You're talking like between $800 and up. And it's like, well, maybe we should just do something here. I've said it before, my house is small, so that many people might be a little troubling, to be honest with you. And we only have 2 parking spaces, so that's an issue. Okay, that's some Tolkien talk. Hi, Tito. How are you, sir? Roscoe's here, too? I didn't see. Oh, here we go, Roscoe. I'm sorry, I didn't see you. How are you? Yeah, Bay, that's what we're looking at. The issue that we run into, I have I have 5 siblings, 3 of which live in the area. So you're talking them and their spouses or their partners or whomever. My one sister might be coming in from Miami. We don't know. My wife has her brother. I have my in-laws, my mom, my dad, my stepmom. So it equals up quickly. And then 2 close friends. My one friend that we're going to invite has 2 girls. My other friend has a girl. So it leads up pretty quickly. And like I said, my house is small. So we're kind of, be very crammed very quickly. We had a party with, how many people was it here?
17.
17 people here, and I felt like we just kind of fit those people. But let me show you what I read this week. That's a smooth transition, right? Not a whole lot. And to be honest with you, two of these I think I may have talked about last week, but I will do it again just because I put it into my red pile. Hey, Master, how are you? Master and Madam, by the way, if you guys did not see, had a great appearance on Gary B's channel this past week. We all watched together, my wife and my son, who doesn't understand things, but he giggles because whenever he sees YouTube, he sees people talking like this, and he thinks they're talking to him. So he enjoyed that. We all watched that together. And I saw Master's sculpture on his lawn the next day on Instagram. Yeah, that was trippy. It kind of reminded me of what was the Ozzy song from? I think it was like the first time he was retiring. He had that video with all the heads. That's what that kind of reminded me of. I'm like waiting for one of them to talk. But let me show you what I read again. These two, I'm not quite sure if I showed off last week or not. But I'll go ahead and do it anyway. The Closet, I finally wrapped up with. Very interesting read. I'm not going to give you any kind of spoilers. It did take an unexpected turn. And I'm still kind of processing if I liked that turn or not. It's definitely an interesting take. The second issue, I think, was my favorite, just kind of seeing a little bit more about some of the supporting cast. But yeah, it kind of leaves a couple big questions, whether this was an actual horror story or not. You know, if it was a horror story, it diverged a little bit from the genre, but the end kind of makes it scarier. If not, I don't know. It kind of have to process how I like that one. I read the conclusion to the Ant-Man limited series. I really did like this. Yeah, Roscoe, I'll tell you, it does take a huge turn from the first issue. I'll confirm that one. I really enjoyed this series. I'll be honest with you. Not a huge Ant-Man guy, but the artwork in these is what drew me in. And I did like the style, how each chapter you're dealing with a different Sandman, a different Ant-Man of each kind of generation. And they kind of matched the art style to fit that. And they converged in this issue to fight this giant universal threat. Apparently, if you've been up on the most recent Avengers stories, you might recognize this one. I'm not, so I was a little lost there. Yeah. Hi, other Phil. How are you? I feel bad whenever another Phil jumps in. I say, hi, other Phil, but I don't know. Hopefully you got a chuckle out of that. Again, I'm still kind of unsure if I really enjoyed it that much. It was definitely a different take. Like, it's not one of my outright, hey, you got to go see this, or you got to go read this books. But I'm letting it kind of sit and marinate a little bit. I didn't read a whole lot this week, I'll say this, but what I did read was thick, and you guys could throw in your own jokes there. So I read the Wildstorm 30th anniversary issue, the 30th anniversary special, that DC put out. I'll say this. I have to remind myself whenever you see these that these are just basically money grabs. I think, did I get this from my LCS or did I get it from Midtown? I think I got this one from Midtown, which if I did, I was happy that I didn't pay full cover price. That being said, I mean, look, it's an anthology series. They kind of lean into a handful of the the Wildstorm characters. Just going through the table of contents, and I realized that, yeah, I did read Wildstorm back in the day, but not all of them. So I only enjoyed like half of the stories, I guess you could say, in here. Yeah, no, I was huge into Gen 13 when they first popped out. Just clearing my text so it doesn't keep beeping on us. Hey Evil, the first kind of arc of Gen 13, not the first arc, I should you could say the first iteration. I really enjoyed. That was when I was bigger into J. Scott Campbell. I think his work has kind of taken a turn that I don't like all the time. We'll say that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, Comic Cap, how are you, sir? Just going through. So remember, so there's a couple Death Blow stories in here. They're both done pretty well. And I think it's, for the most part, I think you have the original teams on it. You did have some people kind of jump in who haven't handled it before, from what I understand. Like, there's a Grifter story, which Grifter, I'll be honest with you, I always kind of personally saw Grifter. I wasn't into Wildcats. We'll start right there. But I did pick up the special to read. I wasn't ever huge into Grifter. I always kind of saw him as like, here is a mix between the Punisher and Gambit that Jim Lee was like, okay, maybe we can get some people reading this. And he's got a cool design, but I feel like they haven't. I feel like they haven't really figured out quite what to do with him. Like, he's popped up in Batman a couple times. I think he's actually in the Batman Inc. title now. Yeah, I feel like he's just like, they don't know what to do with him. Evil, I don't go deep with him, so if you want to educate me, go right ahead. Yeah, I barely remember reading him in the New 52, to be honest with you. I will say this. The J. Scott Campbell Gen 13 story in here was my favorite. It was a very different take. It's kind of like if they took the characters that we know and put them in the present day. And actually, and I think somebody just commented here too about J. Scott Campbell, kind of in the same boat. His pencils in this are, in that little anthology, a couple pages, are really good. It's not just, my biggest thing with J. Scott Campbell is here. Look, here's his art style right now. You could take her head and put it on another body, and it's something else entirely. And it's another character entirely. Like, it's very kind of a cookie cutter style, or at least it's become, in my opinion. He does have moments where he goes back to that stuff, back to his more common style, I should say, his older style rather, and breaks out of that mold, and those I love. But that's been kind of my big issue with his work. But in this one, he does a good job. City Boys and the King of Cities, a Greg Pak story. I wasn't familiar with the characters. I really liked that one too. That was probably my second favorite of this. The Stormwatch stories, I realized that I bought a couple issues of Stormwatch when it first came out back in the day. I tried to buy it during the New 52, and I realized that I've never quite understood Stormwatch. And the stories for this one just kind of fall flat in here. Dan Abnett has a strong story in here too. Not surprised at all. He's a great writer. I don't think I'm saying anything out of turn with that. Christos Gage, great story in here. And that's with some characters I don't even like. I forgot what the guy's name is, Majestic, Mr. Majestic or something. Yeah, so it's a bit of a mixed bag. Backlash, I didn't really care for that story. Brett Booth art, So I guess you could say it was kind of just back in the day, like trying to read an old Backlash story. Ed Brisson has a great one in here too. Rosenberg has another good story in here too. Again, so it's very. I wouldn't say they lean into one character too much, but I will say this: there's multiple Deathblow stories. Both are pretty good. Gen 13 is my favorite, and then that City one is strong, really too. Okay, let's see. Go into the comments. I picked up. I don't know if it's the anniversary or if it's a first issue, but I am kind of interested in taking a look at it. Yeah, didn't they try to bring him into Tinian's Run, or am I thinking of something else? Like I feel like he was there for half of an issue where it was like, why are you here? But yeah, let's see. Yeah. I do like some J. Scott Campbell covers, like My Negative Space. I'd have to see that. If it's the one I'm thinking of, that is a good one. I didn't realize that's J. Scott Campbell. How you doing, Perez? I can't read. I don't know why. Cup, how are you, sir? Another anthology book I read. I usually don't grab these. Again, this one I got cheap from Midtown. The Death of Superman 30th Anniversary. Very cool cover. I know there's a million covers for this. This one I thought was the best from what I could afford. Why don't we say that? And I wasn't going to get this. I had it in my hand at my LCS the last time I went, and I had looked at the cover price. It's $11. I was like, no. But Midtown had like a crazy 75% off sale. I guess they had a lot of these in back stock. So then I jumped on it. This was a really good read. You know, I have an issue with some of the nostalgia books that have been put out recently, where it's either like, okay, well, here's kind of like a backstory within a story we already know that we didn't really need to know. And I feel like usually when they have these anniversary issues, that's what they put in there. It's a grab. But I do think that certain books have kind of hit their stride with it lately. I think Marvel's been a lot better at it within the past year with the Wolverine Patch series and the Gambit series. Those both come to mind. I don't know if the Gambit Rogue series that's coming up is a throwback series or if that's a current one. But this one falls by the side of one of the better ones. I like that it's not something that was like, what was Superman doing right before Doomsday occurred? You know, something like that. Like, it wasn't a fill-in. Yeah, Joe Fixit. I haven't read it, but I've heard some great things about it. Yeah, that was one of the stories that struck out on this here too. Circumstances is here, sir. How are you? Try Avengers War Through Time. I might try to read it digitally. I've been reading All Out Avengers. That's the only Avengers I've been picking up lately. I might drop that though because I didn't realize that that's just leading into the next big Avengers story. Which, yeah, if you guys didn't know, I think everybody knows at this point. Jed MacKay is taking over the writing duties. They formally announced. Yeah, I have to say, all of the stories in here I enjoyed. The one with his parents actually watching him and leading up to that moment that he died, that was a little tough to read. But again, I really thought everything was well done. The Steel one was a little kind of, maybe that was felt like a little bit of one of those ones I was talking about where it was like a story that we didn't really need to know. Which I say with a grain of salt because Steel was my favorite of the four Supermen who appeared, and he's still somebody that if he's in a book, to be honest with you, I'll take a peek. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know why I was always interested in him. I guess he was kind of DC's Iron Man without me realizing it, and I just kind of read a lot of him. Hold on a second here. What you doing, buddy? Do you want to say hi to people? Is that why you're crying?
He wants his bottle.
He wants his bottle. Okay. Yeah, the bottle is everything. I didn't even know he had a new book coming out, so I guess that makes sense. And Louise Simonson is back on it too, or Simonson. That's good. I haven't read a whole lot of Jed MacKay just because I've been cutting back on my pulls. I think I read an issue or two of Moon Knight, and it was pretty good. He is somebody I mean to kind of follow up on just with digitally. Let's see here. Oh, he's got a new belt. Okay. The last book I read, I actually just finished this morning. This one you're going to say, hey, this was an older book. And I think I got this actually through Instagram. I got it on the cheap. The Lot, issue number 1. This is a book from 2021. Bad idea. What?
Not
Honey?
Lock and Key.
No, it's not Locking. It's definitely not Lock and Key. My wife's never read any Lock and Key. We watched. We still haven't watched the new season,
No.
but we watched the prior series of prior Netflix series of Lock and Key. I read the first book from my library, and I enjoyed it. The lot, yeah, I've stayed away from Bad Idea pretty much. Um, yeah, I mean that was my issue too. I felt like it was just a gimmick that just kind of was going nowhere. But my kind of biggest issue with Bad Idea was I felt like they were making it really difficult for the really for the vendors, for the LCSs. I asked my LCS, how come he's not carrying Bad Idea? And he's like, look, they require a certain amount of wall space and window space, which my LCS, you've seen, I've done tours of. If you haven't missed those videos, go back and look. Um, they don't really have exterior windows. They're on a second floor of a building, so they're kind of out. But I'll be honest with you, I don't know how well enforced that is. I've heard of LCSs getting in trouble over it. But the one LCS in my area that is a Bad Idea carrier, or was, which they announced literally 2 days before the first Bad Idea cancellation. I keep saying that because it's like, really, you milked it. Last time I was there, I didn't notice any Bad Idea posters whatsoever. And I don't blame them, because why would you say we demand this amount of wall space for this little product? Let's see here. Plus, none of the shops here in Colorado care. Yeah, and I feel like they kind of really shot themselves in the foot with that first stunt where we're shutting down, because I haven't seen any LCSs carry them. They sounded like some interesting ideas. That first series that everybody was going nuts for, I can't remember the name of it, the Doomsday Machine, whatever, from the future. I can't think of the name of it. It sounded like an interesting idea. I did pick up the Whale story because I really enjoyed. I can't remember the name of the artist, but he did X Force in the '90s, right after the Age of Apocalypse. Yeah, ENIAC. Thank you, Evil. ENIAC sounded like a good idea. I wouldn't be able to tell you. I haven't been able to read one, and at this point, it's like, well, if I see it in a dollar bit, maybe I'll read it, or if it's online, maybe I'll read it. But I'll say this: I really enjoyed this issue of the lot. Somebody said it here. The art was, or is, in this fantastic. The story is a little slow to start with, but it kind of ramps up very quickly towards the end. I would like to find the other parts of the story. To be honest with you, I know that there's 3 other issues. Midtown has them, but I'm going to wait until it's a sale. To be honest with you, so it might be a while. You know, if I get to read it and I read it cheap, great. If not, oh well. And I say read it cheap just because I don't know how much this was when it came out. There's no price on the front. Maybe it's on the back here. But I know Midtown has them for $6.99. It is a higher quality paper, but I'll wait until it's on sale. Yeah, I mean, Seth, that's what kind of caught my attention too. And really, the black and whites do wonders on here. This is actually the only color that's in the main story. There's a backup story that's in color. That's pretty good. It's usually $5. Okay, yeah. So I guess Midtown's gouging a little bit, but I'll wait until they are on sale. So that was everything I read this week. Like I said, it's been kind of a light week. I was curious. You guys tell me, what have you read this week? What is something that has really stuck out on you? Or what's something that you're looking forward to? And I'll tell you this. I am, maybe because the last section of books I read was all my X-Men titles, I am really excited to read Sins of Sinister. I think that's starting this week. I'll probably look at it in about a month or two. But yeah, really interested in that. The DC stuff, to be honest with you, like the Wildcats and everything, I'd love to check out. I'm just kind of waiting. I think I'm just going to be reading DC digitally going forward. I don't have any current DC in my pulls. I went away from them after Tynion got off of Batman. I hear great things about Zardskis. It's just too much, you know. See, Danger Street was my best read this week so far. I don't know that one. It's kind of a funny name, though, Danger Street. Chroma. I want a copy of Chroma #1. I have not read it yet. So I'm going to check that out. That might be a giveaway. I don't know. Yeah, I haven't read Isolation yet. I have all of the copies. It's just, all right, I have to sit down and read it. Yeah, a lot of people have been talking about Lazarus Planet. Like I said, I'm going to probably read it digitally. Bane looked interesting. I haven't been reading any of the One Bad Day books at all. Wildstorm from DC by Warren Ellis from a few years back was a. Oh, yeah, you know what? I was interested in actually picking that up, but my LCS wasn't carrying it, so I was going to actually, I intended it, I should say, to read it in trades, and I just couldn't find them all. So I just kind of fell like one of the wayside things. Daredevil, I jumped off of. I love Daredevil. He's one of my favorite characters. I jumped off of after Soul's run, which I understand is going far back. Every so often, I'll pick up an issue here or two. But, yeah, I've been meaning to catch up on them digitally. I did read most of Devil's Reign digitally. I have to read, I think, the conclusion, and I was enjoying it a lot. Batman one, yeah, that's when I have. Oh, David, you kind of disappoint me. I figured you'd have that. I figured you'd have like 10 copies of that already the day it came out. I'm just joking. I know you had some issues. Yeah, Punisher, I'm hearing great things about. I'll say this: they really kind of stretched this longer than I thought they would. I figured 4 issues he'd be back in the original costume, so I'll be reading that digitally at some point. No problem, Zach. Yeah, and I'm hearing that from a lot of people. Just for me, like Daredevil, Batman, I'm trying to think if there's anybody else. I think Ms. Marvel and Miles, I just kind of hit a wall on where I was like, yeah, you know, these are all great stories. I can't, you know, I have to, number one, make room in my pulls. And number two, just, I feel like you hit an apex with a character, and it's like, how many more interesting things can you do with them? And I understand with Miles and Ms. Marvel, it's kind of like I'm comparing them to these characters who've been around for so long, like Daredevil and Batman. But I kind of felt like some of the stories were getting repetitive. So when the teams changed, I was like, all right, I'm going to just jump off. And like I said, I'll read it digitally at some point. Dude, I'm like I said, I'm months behind at this point with my LCS. And look, with my LCS, I'll say this too. I don't like being behind. I don't like the idea that they put out money for stuff, but they know that I'm going to pick them up. And I've had an arrangement in the past where if it's getting too bad, or if I'm hurting them somehow by not picking them up yet, they call me and I'll do the charge over the phone and just pick them up at my convenience. But I'll probably go there maybe in about 2 weeks. Again, I really want to see. Honestly, I want to iron out my son's birthday first, and then we have Valentine's right after that. You know, it all kind of comes. Oh no, Valentine's is before his birthday. What am I thinking? You know, Daredevil as well. You know what it is with Daredevil? I think I felt like the last thing I read was just kind of satisfied my Daredevil itch. I read Daredevil. I picked up Doring Smith's run, but not the whole run. When Bendis started, I went from Bendis to Brubaker to whoever followed Brubaker. I can't think of it. And then on to, and I've talked about this before, to Mark Waid and Chris Samney. I'll say this: Bendis was great, Brubaker was great, and that third writer was okay. But from those 3 writers, it got progressively darker to the point where, you remember during Shadowlands, Daredevil became a villain. And Mark Waid triumphed, in my book, in that point, because Daredevil had gotten so dark. What else could he do with him? So he brought him to San Francisco and made it a very kind of a light kind of feel to it. And Samney's art really supported that in there too. I should do a video about that series rather. Maybe. But even, and when I say light, you know, they still had heavy subject matter in there. It's just the overall feel and tone of it, I don't know. It felt like, okay, you're giving us room to breathe. I appreciate that. Yeah, Zardsky is a great writer. Doing it justice. Okay. Yeah, I figured that's it. I mean, let me ask you something though too, and I'll give you a little asterisk on this. I haven't read Miracle Man. Are there a lot of people out there who are clamoring for, the end to Miracle Man? Let's see. Maybe I'm trying to think if I ever tried to read it in trade. I don't think so, but if it's online, maybe I'll just try to check it out. I'm trying to think. I mean, look, Gaiman is writing it. Guessing not so good. Oh, I don't know. Gaiman, certainly a great writer. Nobody's going to say that. Has he had some stories that have not been great? 1602, maybe. His Eternals run, I still don't understand, but, that's just me. Yeah, no, Mr. Miracle, yeah, you confused me for a second. Mr. Miracle, I read it when the trade came out. Not the last series, but the Tom King series, and I really enjoyed that. Yeah, I have to see. Like I said, if I could see it digitally, maybe I'll check it out, but I have enough to read on my own. I'm trying to think, what are some other comic-related stories I read? And it looks like Marvel's getting done or getting ready for the fall of Krakoa. I'm in the minority, I think, when people say this, that, having read X-Men since I'm 13 years old, I'm 43 now, I kind of really liked Krakoa. I thought it was a change of pace. And I've said this before. Lady Fantastic, if you're still here, I don't think you've ever heard me say this, but I think it was a refreshing kind of breath for the X-Men in general to take. I think it's kind of funny. It's almost sounds like a bad racist joke where it's like, okay, well, go back to where you came from. Well, we have an island now. Well, we hate your island. Why don't you guys leave here? Well, I'm back up to, okay, we've got Mars now. Well, we hate that you took over Mars. It's like, okay, so what are you going to do? You too, David. I'm going to wind down soon. You know what, Seth? Here's the thing. There is a lot of great stuff going on with X-Men, and I think a lot of people wrote off Krakoa after House of 10 and Powers of 10 because everything was so much interweaved. After Hickman left, even before that, they started kind of just gradually separating the books. So, yeah, you can read all of them, but you don't really have to. I'll be honest with you. There are things that I don't read from there. I'll be honest with you. Teenie Howard pissed me off so much during Excalibur. I didn't follow into Legions of X or anything. I'm not going to follow her into the Betsy Braddock series coming out. Although I'll say this, if you've read Excalibur while Teenie Howard was on it, I can't speak to Knights of 10. It was just pretty much a Betsy Braddock series. More on that another day, though. I've talked about why I don't like that Excalibur run. Way of X I could never really get into. Cy Spurrier is either great or not great in my book, and it just wasn't great for me, what I did read in Legion of X and whatnot. Really, the only X-Men stories, I'm reading the main X-Men title, which isn't my favorite, but it's kind of coming together. I dropped Marauders, hated it when Orlando came on. Sabretooth, I checked out the first issue. I'll be doing that. Wolverine and X-Force are really the only two that are kind of intertwined, and they're not even really. Those have been really good. New Mutants, I think, just wrapped up. I enjoyed Vita Alea on that. The last issue I read was the one that she got off on, or she's not on rather, and it's like, Exterminators is fun. Yeah, I mean, Seth, my big problem with Excalibur was that you had such a great cast of characters that you did nothing with. I had really liked, prior to Krakoa, what Kelly Thompson did on Mr. and Mrs. X, and I felt like with Gambit and Rogue, and I felt like that was immediately thrown out the window. It's like, all right, Rogue's in a coma for 3 issues, and we're not going to do anything with her anyway. What else? Apocalypse was on the team and basically, again, did almost nothing. And I feel like they were bringing him. I feel like they were setting him up for what was that? The Ten of Swords crossover. And that I kind of get, but it's like you have this great cast of characters, and you just focus on one. And look, don't get me wrong. I think Betsy Braddock is a great character. I like the fact that on Krakoa they've separated her into 2 different beings. So you have a Psylocke and you have a Captain Britain. It just wasn't good. Yeah, Marauders with Orlando. And that was a shame because I thought the first volume of Marauders was spectacular. But there you go. I could go on and on about the X titles, and I have in the past. I do have some opinions about what I would like to see, either leading up to or following the Krakoa going away, if that is indeed what's happening. I'll talk about that in another video, but I've got nothing else for you guys today. So today's agenda, I'm going to be organizing more after I finish my breakfast, which is probably cold now, I'm not going to lie to you. And yeah, I do want to record some videos. I do want to put out that video I was telling you about that I did in my mom's freezing house this week. Again, that's kind of my follow-up to Italian American Art Week, Art Month I did in October. And the video is based on a topic of a political nature, and I'll just tease it here for you guys. And this isn't the title, at least not right now. Hey, Brian, does representation in comics matter? I'm submitting that it does, with an asterisk. So be on the lookout for that. Haven't been anything exciting. If I would have known about Strange Academy beginning, I would have hopped on. Yeah, look at Vita Alea's New Mutants run. I think she did it better than most as far as the Krakoan age. Ben Percy's been killing it with X-Force and Wolverine. And that first volume, really, of Marauders and Hellions was great. But I digress. Anyway, I'm about to log off, guys. So I want to thank you for checking me out today. See, again, I haven't eaten yet. I haven't drank yet. I need coffee. I need rest. My back is still out. But enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks again for checking me out. Peace, love, and comics. Take care.